What's up, everyone? This is the Real Mark Cruz, and I'm here to keep it real with you on the things that matter the most, like your money, your mind, and of course, your time. Today, I actually wanted to talk about the ever-present emotion that we all face at some point, and that is fear. Fear is looked at for the most part as a bad thing, but I'd like to share with you on how it can in fact be a good thing. See, I am one of the unlucky few who had many fears as a child, and in turn, it caused me to have major anxiety issues that unfortunately they still linger to this day. Granted, they're nowhere near as bad as they were, but fear was a huge part of my life for so long. I was afraid of so many things, and being an anxiety-ridden person who also is OCD, ADD, stutters, and has a brain that runs a mile a minute, you can maybe understand how much fear has affected my young formative years. I knew, from a young age, that although I struggled with these things, for me to even begin to overcome them, I'd have to understand what fear was and where it came from. See, fear is one of those emotions that regardless of who you are or how you were raised, we are all born with the ability to have fear. Usually fears that we have may have been brought on by our experiences, and some may have even been brought on from our, cultural beliefs. However, did you know that some studies have pointed out that as human beings, we are only born with just 2 fears? Crazy, right? The first is the fear of falling. The second is the fear of loud noise. Some studies have claimed that those are primal or, instinctual fears that we are born with. Their primary function is to help us to survive. All other fears are in some way either learned or they're picked up along the way. Insane, right? So, before we can understand how to approach our fears, I want to take a look at the actual definition of fear, okay? According to dictionary.com, fear is a distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc., whether the threat is real or it is imagined. The feeling or condition of being afraid. I personally see fear as an acronym, One definition that I can say that is more in line with, the traditional definition of fear is forget everything and run. This implies that all fear is scary and that if anything is too much for you, run away from it as fast as you possibly can. Another definition that I give, fear in terms of seeing it as an acronym is face everything and rise. I like that one a lot. You see, it says face everything and rise. No running away here, my friends, okay? You have to grab that fear by the cojones and you have to rise above it. Actually, that definition, it actually reminds me of a quote by Helen Keller in which she described fear. She said, "Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. The fearful are caught as often as the bold." She describes fear very much in the way that I do. You see, what you are afraid of, regardless of what it is, you are going to have to feel those same emotions, whether you run or you confront it right away. So, why not just attack it head on and get it over with? See, maybe you might be afraid of a big change in your life that's coming up, right? Maybe you have an opportunity to start a business, but right now, in your mind, you somehow convince yourself that the time is just not right. You've probably come up with an entire list of pros and cons, and unfortunately, you may have listed way more bad things. Maybe your money isn't right, or if you leave your current job like right now, you won't have the security of a steady paycheck. But guess what? Regardless of how you look at it, you will always be inclined to list out more bad things than good things, since, most people are unfortunately afraid of change. Fear tells us we are in danger, but more often than not, that danger, it is imagined and it's not real. You'll be surprised that after you take that leap of faith, your fear will completely go away, and you'll realize it was a lot easier just to take that risk than you thought. One of the biggest fears that I had was starting my marketing firm at 25. I had lost my job and I had been unemployed for over, 18 months at that time, and I was so afraid as to what would come next for me that my anxiety, it literally kicked into overdrive. I had a semi-stroke and I even suffered shingles because of this fear. Mind you, this was during a time where YouTube wasn't as huge as it is now, Instagram wasn't around, and we were still using MySpace, Wow, wait a second. I just kind of aged myself there, didn't I? Anyway, my point here is that at this time, I was at my worst. I was over $35,000 in credit card debt. I was forced to move back in with my parents too. I had applied to over 800 jobs and I still couldn't find work. That fear that I had, it crippled me for so long. I knew that I wanted to start my own company, but I was afraid of how I would even begin. I was afraid that, it would cost me too much money to get it going. And of course, I was afraid to fail. Then one day I was at my wit's end and I literally went on my knees and I said a prayer that I had never said in my life. And the second that I got up off of my knees, I had received a phone call in which I was offered a temporary job with a company who ironically ended up being my first client. See, this was life-changing for me. I sobbed tears of joy and relief, and when I settled down, I realized that at the end of the day, all I really needed was faith to help me overcome that fear. I had come to the realization that there was never a good time to start or embark on anything. And to be honest, since things were as bad as they were at that time, my rationale was, wait, if I'm already at below rock bottom, what else could possibly get worse? Once I realized that my fears were creating scenarios in my head that actually hadn't happened, I had to stop getting caught in this negative reinforcement loop that I was creating. So here is what I hope you walk away with today, my friends, okay? Fear is inevitable. The odds will always be stacked against you. The time will never be right, okay? You will never have enough money to start creating your dream. Your goal will always seem so far out of reach, and that support that you thought that you'd have won't be there when the time comes. But you know what I have to say to all of that? So what? Welcome to the journey, my friends. See, all of these things will be a part of your story regardless. They are just steps in this process. Now that you understand what you are up against, my question to you is, what are you going to do about it? That new business that you want to start is just beyond those things, right outside of your comfort zone. That brand new home that you want, but you're afraid to committing to, is something that you can and will make happen with overriding that fear programming in your mind with the faith that it will work out. Why be afraid of wanting more out of your life or striving for the better things that you know that you deserve? Fear should not be the gatekeeper standing between you and your dreams. Fear should be the rocket ship that is waiting to catapult you to your dreams and your future to the moon. Fear at the end of the day is not the bad guy. It is the overly protective parent that's attempting to keep you from the things that it thinks are dangerous to you. Yeah, you appreciate it, but that shouldn't be what stops you. Use that as the driving force to keep you going. Love your fear. That's all it needs to stop affecting you in a negative way. Envelop your fear with love and embrace the fact that even though it does a terrible job at showing it, it is only there to prepare you. It only grows when you let it consume you, and that usually happens when we forget how helpful our fear is actually trying to be. It really wants our best, however silly or irrational it may seem at times. Don't forget everything and run. Face everything and rise. Well, that's what I have for you guys today. What fears do you currently face in your life? What kind of help do you need to overcome them? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with someone who might benefit from this information. With all that being said, keep your heads bright, your wallets tight, and grab your dreams like it's your right, my friends. Peace.